What is going on, everybody? Shwazy here, and in today's video we're taking delivery of the all-new 2024 Mercedes Benz AMG GLE 63S. Okay, so the AMG GLE 63S. Well, this vehicle just got dropped off to me yesterday, and I figured I would do a quick exterior and interior 360 walk around, just give you some of the highlights, because there will be a comprehensive review coming on this vehicle here shortly. But right now, I just wanted to do a quick walk around video so you guys know about this car, because for 2024, they actually updated this vehicle. This is actually a facelift, and as you can see, the front grille is a little bit different. You actually have a different headlamp assembly over here as well, and then this being the AMG version, you do have a totally different front bumper, and it does look aggressive. Look at that front end. This thing does look mean. It looks like it's going to tear you apart, and we'll talk about what's under the hood, because this thing really will tear you apart. And then coming over to the side profile hasn't changed too much from the current generation GLE. There's not much of a facelift here. Of course, you do have a little bit different accents here, this being the AMG version. You do have a body colored front fender over here, which looks really nice, and then these are some beefy tires over here, especially in the back. You got 285, 40, 22-inch size diameter wheels, and then these do come with the carbon ceramic brakes. I really like the aluminum or brushed aluminum style of the wheels. They look really nice. Definitely gives it kind of a spice to it, especially with this blue color on the outside. And then you do have the V8 twin turbo 4MATIC badge over here. Again, we'll talk about what's under the hood just in a minute. I do like the chrome accents around the window surround and on the door handles. And then coming over to the back, this is where the tire size gets crazy. You got 325 millimeter wide tires in the back, wrapped around 22-inch wheels. And again, I just really like the style of it. Coming back on the rear quarter panel, this is where there's a slight change from the current generation. The facelift actually updated the rear tail light housings as well, so they look a little bit different. And then this one being the AMG version, of course, you have this AMG rear diffuser with the AMG tailpipes. Looks really good and very menacing, I will say that, especially in this color. Here's the GLE 63S badge. You do have a integrated spoiler over here at the top, and there's a look at what it looks like from the rear end. Again, very aggressive. This is just the mid-size SUV. If you guys aren't familiar with the GLE, it used to be called the ML, and then it was rebranded back in, I believe, 2015. But there's a quick look at the exterior. You do have roof rails, which is nice for adding some accessories here and there. Now let's jump on the inside and show you what that looks like, because that's where this thing really shines. Starting off with the door panel, you do have soft touch materials all throughout the top, and then take a look at this Burmester audio system. It just looks gorgeous in that grille. I mean, this is a textured aluminum grille to it. Looks really, really beautiful. I do like the use of aluminum around here. You do have your memory seats, heated ventilated seats, then you can move your passenger side seat as well if they're in the way or they're misbehaving. Coming down here, all of this is leather touched materials, very, very premium. I mean, you would expect nothing less from a Mercedes. Nice aluminum door handle and aluminum switches for your window controls, and you actually do have rear sunshades that you can control from here. Coming further down, you do have some hard touch plastic over here, which is to be expected, and then you do have your cup holder and then the button to activate your lift gate. Coming in here, you do have an illuminated AMG emblem over here, and then I will say at night you will actually get an AMG logo on the ground, and then when you close the door, the mirror will shine a Mercedes logo. Just nice touches here and there. Coming over to the seats, I love how these things look. Now, I'm not sure how the light color is going to look when you have, blue jeans, but nonetheless, it's beautiful. You do have Alcantara here mixed with some leather. The Alcantara wraps all the way down onto the seat. And then these are massaging seats. They have like probably 10 different types of massage styles that you can choose from, and it does actually massage the cushion and not just the seat back, which is really nice. And it probably is one of the best massaging seats I've sat in. Just my first impressions here sitting in this vehicle. And then you do have a really cushy and soft headrest. Just an overall really beautiful interior, but we haven't even shown anything yet. Let's jump inside. Let's turn this vehicle on. Your start stop button is right here. And you probably barely heard this vehicle turn on, and that's because of what's under the hood. So not only is this vehicle just super luxurious, the powertrain is actually very advanced, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but you do have a mild hybrid system, which essentially just means you have a very beefed up electric starter motor. And so that means that your cold starts are a little bit quieter, the interior cabin is a little bit quieter, it's not super jolty when you're accelerating or when your start-stop system turns on and off, and we'll talk about that in the full review. But but just something I wanted to point out. Start off with the steering wheel. This is actually updated for 2024 model year. This is kind of more integrated with some of the other Mercedes vehicles in the lineup. This is all touch sensitive controls. So the left-hand side is actually how you're going to control this giant 12.3-inch instrument gauge cluster display. So as you can see here, I'm going to hit the home button. It's going to activate all the different settings, and then I'm simply just swiping, and that's how this vehicle is registering where I want to select. So there's no actual buttons here, although when I do push the home button, it does feel like a button. It's like a haptic feedback, but everything else is all swipe controls. And so it's a really interesting system. It does take a little bit getting used to, but overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. Down here in the bottom, same type of haptic controls for your cruise control. Now, this does have adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, steering assist. It also will change lanes when you hit the blinker, so pretty advanced safety features. And then you do have your paddle shifters up, down over here, a really nice aluminum back to it. I like that. Pretty small steering center. I mean, it's just the Mercedes emblem, and that's pretty much it. And then on the right-hand side, you do have your controls to actually control this screen. And again, pretty intuitive. Same type of style to it. You hit the home button, it'll take you to the home, then you can swipe and kind of go through all the different settings. Down here, you have your volume controls and your phone and audio settings as well. And then these two buttons are kind of interesting down here. So I've showed this off in the AMG GT review that I did a few months back, but this is your individual sport modes. So you can go through different modes here, and that's pretty easy to use. Not much more functionality to the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, though, you do have lots of different functionality. So by pushing on this button on the top end, you're going to manipulate what you want to actually change. So for example, if you want to turn off your auto start stop functionality, you get to that menu, and then you simply push the button over here on the left-hand side, and that will turn off your auto start stop. That pretty much finishes off the steering wheel. I know we spent a lot of time on it, but there's just a lot to discuss. Over here on the left-hand side is just your light controls, pretty typical stuff over here. And then need I point out this ambient lighting that goes all throughout the cabin. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you go to your comfort settings on the screen over here, you can actually manipulate that lighting to be tons of different colors. So there's multicolors, there's also monochrome, so you can pick a specific color, you know, whatever you like. If you like red, it's really, really intuitive. Mercedes is probably one of the best in terms of interior ambient lighting, and this is no exception to that. Like I mentioned earlier briefly, you know, you do have this 12.3-inch touchscreen display, and then you can choose different themes. So if you want to just go for, you know, like a understated theme or something like that, I really like the purple color here. It actually changes it over here as well. So lots of different functionality to play around with. I'm not going to go through all the different features, but you can also pull up your navigation system and all those things like that. And then you can manipulate your head-up display over here. So as you can see, this is a certain theme to it, but if I choose to change it by just swiping up, take a look at what it changes to. So I can change it to standard, a minimal, an off-road theme. It's kind of hard to see, so I apologize that you're not able to see the different settings. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's different ways to manipulate the screen. This is a touch screen, and it's pretty easy to reach. It's not too far out of reach. And then you can use the steering wheel. And then the third way to control it is actually using this little haptic feedback. This kind of reminds me a lot of the Lexus vehicles of the past, where you could essentially swipe kind of like a mouse on a computer laptop, and you can go through the different settings. Again, just giving you, different ways to control the center touchscreen is really nice. And honestly, I could spend probably a couple hours just talking about this center display. So I'm going to wait for the full review to talk about all the features. But coming over here to the side, you do have your updated air vents over here. They're updated with chrome around the air vent itself. That's kind of an added feature for 2024. And then down here, you do still have physical buttons for your climate control, which is really nice. And then if you push this button, it'll immediately pull up your menus for your front and second row climate controls. And you do have an air purifier or air ionizer and a fragrance that's actually located over here inside of the glove compartment. So you can actually add a fragrance from Mercedes, whatever one you like, and then this vehicle will actually pump it into the inside of the cabin. Now moving further down, you do have this little cover over here that you can pop open. There's your wireless charging pad with some USB ports, and then you do have heated and cooled cup holders over here, which is a pretty nice touch depending on what you're drinking. On the left hand side, you have your sport modes, driving modes over here. You do have your cameras, which this one has a very robust camera setup. I mean, you have like this 360-degree camera that makes it look like a drone is flying outside of your car. I mean, just really crazy what they can do with software. You have your settings, your favorites button. On the right-hand side is your volume. You can, quickly access your navigation, your media, your telephone. And then this is to raise and lower the suspension. And it's very noticeable. If you look out, you'll see the vehicle actually going up and down. That's a pretty cool touch. I'll show that off in the full review. You do have a little armrest over here, and then opening this up, it's a pretty good sized compartment, nothing too crazy. You do have a USB port, and I think a place where you could set your key if you do run out of battery or something, you could still turn the vehicle on. Let's jump to the second row seats and show you what that looks like. Jumping into the back, same nice use of materials. Like I said, you do have a little sunshade over here, automatic powered, none of that, cheap manual stuff, not on a Mercedes, of course. You do have heated seats back here. Really nice door panel. I've talked about it enough. Same with the rear seats. You do have a center armrest with 2 cup holders, which is nice. Also, I gotta say, plenty of legroom. This is me sitting behind myself, and this is probably the largest amount of legroom I've seen in a mid-size SUV. I mean, this is almost, like S-Class territory of legroom. It's really massive. You do have your own set of climate controls back here, and then you do have a little compartment over here and 2 USB ports, which is nice. Not too big of a center hump, so you can sit 3 people comfortably back here. Seats are pretty wide. It's a relatively large vehicle. And then I gotta say, you do have this giant panoramic moonroof, which is really nice, and it does open. And I gotta say that interior cabin is probably my favorite part of this vehicle, as I'm sure you can tell since we've been sitting in here for quite a while. Let's also point out the trunk area. Nothing too crazy back here. It is a pretty large trunk, and I do like that there's no big protrusions inside, so you can easily just load large items back here. Definitely enough space for a family of 4 to go on a road trip. Opening this section up over here, you'd also have a pretty large underfloor storage. Unfortunately, you don't have a spare tire. You do have a fix-a-flat kit, and then your tonneau cover can actually be placed in here and out of the way, which is nice. That way, if you need it, you can place it back into the vehicle and cover up your valuables. And then nothing much else to report aside from the fact that you can raise and lower the vehicle using this button over here. So if you're loading something pretty heavy, you can lower the vehicle using the air suspension and load it a little bit easier. And then you do have a cigarette style power outlet over here. And other than that, that finishes off the rear end. Now let's talk about what's under the hood. Okay, so under the hood is where it gets really interesting. First off, you do have some carbon fiber components over here, which looks really nice. This is like an exposed carbon fiber. And again, that's just a touch of it being an AMG product. Not all Mercedes GLEs will come with that. And then this being the AMG hand-built motor, you do have the name of the individual, Nico, that built this engine in Germany, and that's just a beautiful touch. I love that. It's not very common to see that in vehicles. Let's talk about this powertrain because it's very, very interesting. First off, you do have a twin turbo 4-liter V8. So for those of you that are hating the fact that we're decreasing the displacement of engines and doing V6s and 4 cylinders, this is still an old school V8 engine. And this thing is also mated to a mild hybrid electric platform. So essentially what this vehicle has is a integrated starter motor, which is just a beefed up electric starter. But the beauty of that, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, is you do get some of the advantages of both internal combustion and electric in one powertrain. So this thing will actually allow for this thing to have a smoother start-stop. It will actually provide a little bit more boost, and the combined output is 603 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. Now, when we're talking about 0 to 60, you're looking at 3.7 seconds, and this is a 4MATIC system, which is Mercedes jargon for all-wheel drive. Now, fuel economy isn't bad considering this is such a powerful engine. You're looking at 15 in the city, 20 on the highway, and I will say all of that power is sent through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Well, there you have it, folks. That was a somewhat quick interior and exterior walk around. Now, talking about pricing to finish this video off, pricing hasn't been announced for the 2024 model year, which is the vehicle behind me, but the 2023 model year for the GLE 63S was starting around $120,000. So it's definitely not cheap, but you do get quite a bit of bang for your buck considering this is essentially a sports car with an ultra luxurious interior and the capability of an SUV. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you stay tuned for the full comprehensive review where I talk about all of the features and all the things you should know, from towing capacity to the dimensions and everything that you would want to know if you're looking at buying one of these vehicles. Also check me out on all the social media at Schwazy_. Until next time, everybody, I hope you stay Schwazy, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.